It's showtime. Hey everyone, this is Brian here from Massey's Main Entertainment. We've now returned here on this glorious Monday. And I say glorious, it's probably -6 degrees outside here. But somewhere in this world, it's probably glorious. I'm joined today by my buddy Rich Strickler, and Doc, who I just saw a couple days ago when we were trying out our live stream a little bit. And also Randy, who kind of popped in on the live stream. Randy's joining us from the Midwest area. We're back with you this week with the top 5 movies of 1976. We have an ongoing series going from 1965, and we're pushing it all the way to 1979, covering the top 5 movies from each year. We've also been doing a film director series where we've been doing the top 10 movies from each director that we've been covering, like Tarantino and Spielberg. Clint Eastwood was the last one we did. And we have another one coming up for Ridley Scott very, very soon as well. So be on the lookout for that. Guys, 1976. What was your thoughts about this year comparatively with other years in the 70s, maybe?
It's another good one. Good 70s year. Got a lot of classics as far as I'm concerned. A lot of high critically acclaimed Oscar-type films. And then some personal favorites along the way. Some good comedies as well. There's a lot in 76 for me.
Yeah, I'd say the same. Yeah, 76 is, I think it's, to be honest with you, it's, when you take a step back, the top end is the top end kind of thing in a lot of senses. But filling up the top 5 was no easy task, I'll say that, because there's a lot to choose from. And there was a lot of good movies in 76. Maybe gets overlooked in some senses, but it's pretty solid in my eyes, man. Really solid, if you want the truth.
Randy, you agree?
I thought it was really solid as well. In fact, I had a hard time narrowing it down. I had quite a few kind of favorite kind of things that I had to leave out this year because there was like 11 movies that were really in my thinking, and I saw them all at the theater when I was really going to the theater. I was a senior in high school back at this time. So
yeah, right. Yeah, I kind of agree with all that. Although I felt like my first 3 down on paper were pretty much locked in, just the order. And then those last 2 became kind of preferences, I think, a little bit of personal choices as I went forward there. So, So tonight's order will be, Doc, you have to lead off, my friend. Yep. Then Rich will follow, and I'll go third. Randy gets to do cleanup today. We're going to be going around the horn style, so we'll start at number 5, and all of us will do our number 5, then number 4, number 3, count it all the way down. Please like, sub, and comment down below, and definitely leave your top 5 movies for this particular year, or tell us maybe whether we messed up the order altogether. It's kind of fun to have all sorts of things going on. Hold on, it's my daughter calling. Don't go anywhere, fellas. There, don't worry about it. I'll call her back. So we'll kick this thing off. Doc, give us your number 5.
Well, just jump right in, man. That's all you can do.
That's all you can do.
My number 5. Man, this was really tough. I went with Marathon Man. My number 5. I guess there's a theme here as I go here. So to me, it's a great thriller. I love the cast in this movie here with Hoffman and Laurence Olivier, Roy Schneider here, and William Devine, and some other characters in here. It's a real thriller. It's a twist. It's a movie that kind of just takes you on a ride. And you don't know where you're going. Like even halfway through the movie, you don't even know what the hell's going on in some sense. You're just watching it because you're following a story and stuff like that. Marathon Man, those second and third acts, man, they're pretty solid. You got Dustin Hoffman and you got Laurence Olivier here in the 70s, man. Really good acting. 2 different acting methods, obviously, but I'll say that. But I've always loved this movie, man. It's like I said, top 5. I think it's pretty solid. This is tough to leave off my list. So I'm putting it on. I got Marathon at 5.
There you go. That's a good start. Rich, what about you?
I'm the same. I have Marathon Man also at number 5.
Right on.
A lot of the things Doc said. I love the combination of Dustin Hoffman versus Laurence Olivier here because they are from 2 different schools of acting, and they didn't get along on set, for what I understand. And you got Dustin Hoffman as a New York grad student who gets pulled into this mess. His brother's involved with the CIA or whatever, and there's some Nazi diamond trading going on here, and Olivier's coming to claim his dead brother's loot out of the box, and he's going to kill anybody in his way. He's got this knife that comes out. He just slashes throats right on the streets of New York. It works as a mystery, like Doc said in the beginning. You're trying to figure out what's going on. It's a thriller. It does have some really intense scenes, including the one in the dentist chair that everybody always talks about. The end scene too, with the fight for the diamonds, and he tells him, "You can keep as many as you can swallow." It's a great line. It works as a revenge picture. It's got that New York grit on the streets where people are going about their business, and they're filming a lot of this stuff around it, in the jewelry store and the ghetto, all that stuff. And then William Devane as this two-faced guy as well. You think he's with you in 1 minute. I don't want to give too much away, but anyway, it's worth checking out. The dentist scene will always be seared in my mind. It's directed by John Schlesinger, who did Midnight Cowboy and other great films. A British man directing this American thriller. So it's easily on my list at number 5, Marathon Man.
Awesome. This one, that just missed my list, and I kind of went with some personal preferences, I think, this year instead. And I picked Carrie, one, because I'm a huge horror fan. Also, Stephen King is, of course, a native of Maine as well. I remember reading his book on writing, and he was talking about how he basically was going to scrap the whole book for Carrie. He had it actually in the garbage, and his wife picked it out of the garbage, and she read it, and she was the one that convinced him that he should release this as a novel, that it spoke to not just the supernatural aspects, but it spoke to what teenage girls were going through at the time, and that time in their lives, and she thought it was a good idea for him to put that out. So, movie is directed by Brian De Palma. Sissy Spacek, of course, plays Carrie in it, and she's this girl who's not a very popular girl in her school. She also has a very extremely religious, zealot, crazy mother at home who, looks upon Carrie with total disdain, probably because there's that well-kept secret that she knows that Carrie probably has these abilities because her mother actually did have those abilities as well. Everybody will remember the scene in the gymnasium when, of course, the cheerleaders and the popular kids dump the pig's blood over top of her head, and then her powers just kick into high gear, and she just basically decimates the almost entire high school population, as it were. Really good horror movie, but it's also a really good kind of a drama that kind of speaks to maybe some teen angst that young women go through, possibly in high school and stuff. And I thought very well acted. Very good psychological drama, and I wanted to include it in my list, so I got it at number 5.
Right.
Good choice.
Good one.
Yeah, I like that choice because that's my number 5 as well.
There you go.
Yeah. Sissy Spacek, the coming of age teen who's just magnificent in this role, and then Piper Laurie, who plays her mother, is probably one of the most frightening movies of all time as well. Until Carrie figures out she has powers that she can use against her. But like I said, it's a tale of revenge, and a lot of young actors in there that became stars later on.
Right.
And I remember seeing it at the theater, and it does have one of the best jump scares of all time, because the whole theater went nuts when that happened, which I won't give away. But yeah, that's my number 5 as well.
There we go. All right.
Sounds good.
Any of the folks that haven't seen Carrie, but it didn't make my list, but it was number 6. John Travolta's in it, Amy Irving, Nancy Allen, a lot of up and coming. William Catt, who was pretty big in the 70s.
Yeah, they had a recent remake of it with Chloe Moretz was in it, but it wasn't anywhere near. The acting wasn't up to par. No.
And Betty Buckley
Betty Buckley's excellent in it.
That's right.
Yep.
Well, Doc, we're at number 4, buddy.
I'll just say something really quick. Carrie got crossed off and Marathon Man got put in. So that's how close it was to making my
list. So it was almost the opposite for me.
It's right there.
Yeah, almost the opposite for me. So
yeah.
My number 4. Yeah, this was tough, man. I went with Network at number 4. A story about, an aging, shall we say, news anchor that's gonna he's out of time now, man. The studio, the TV producers, and the networks are just saying, "That's it. You're going away. You're at the pasture now," kind of thing, and that's it for you. And it's cast. It's fantastic, and this is a script actor driven movie. William Holden's fantastic. They're all fantastic. Faye Dunaway's great. She's just full throttle TV exec here that wants to take over the whole industry, and how she programs her business, really. So when they get on screen, they're fantastic. Peter Finch is obviously fantastic in this movie as the news anchor. William Holden's best friend, who's sticking with him through it. The cast is awesome, and the story about I'm going to kill myself on live TV, to where it goes from there, and how they turn it into as a ratings maker to keep the studio alive and making a money maker until it may or may not turn out. So, Ned Beatty's got one of the classic speeches in all of film. It's a placement thing for me, guys. Network's going to come in at number 4. It's a great movie, man.
It is, absolutely.
Well, Doc and I may have the same list, because I've got Network at 4 as well.
Wow.
Directed by Sidney Lumet. He gave the 3 lead performances. They're all great. Faye Dunaway won the Oscar, and so did Peter Finch in a posthumous role. He died right after the film. This is his last role. And that tagline, "I'm as mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore." Everybody knows that from the 70s. And it virtually, in my eyes, predicted what was the future of television and stuff, but in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Where ratings is everything. It doesn't matter what you put up there. A shock effect, the Jerry Springers of the world, and Maury Povich, and Survivor, and Big Brother, all this reality stuff that you see on cable. Anything for ratings, you can throw anything up there. It's directed by Sidney Lumet, who of course did Dog Day Afternoon, we did last year. Big time director, and the ratings are declining. He's going to kill himself on TV, and then he becomes this popular guy that everybody has to watch. It's like watching a train wreck. You can't take your eyes off it, and it is a great film. So I'm going to put that at number 4.
Excellent.
Good choice, Rich.
Thank you, Doc.
I will agree. It's coming up soon, but
Okay.
not here at my number 4. I went ahead and put Outlaw Josie Wales here. I mean, we just got through discussing our top 10 Clint Eastwood. This was rather high on my list. So, I mean, if anybody wants to hear a little bit more information concerning this movie, you can also go back to that video and watch that if you'd like. It's directed and starring Clint Eastwood, who is a Confederate soldier, and it comes toward the end of the war. And everybody's given the opportunity to surrender, but he refuses to surrender. So it goes on the run. And they send bounty hunters after him, and it's really as much of a journey than it is anything else in there. Is that along the road he meets a different cast of characters, some that he picks up along the way, and begrudgingly takes with him, but eventually he feels like he adopts these individuals as really his family, his family substitute, since he lost his during the war. Really one of those great where you find yourself rooting for the anti-hero in the film in a way, because he's not a man of high moral or high principles necessarily. He just so happens, you get to learn a little bit more about his life and realize that the circumstances that surrounding that made him the man that he was. So I thought, it's one of his better Westerns, probably maybe his best Western in the 70s for sure. And wanted to put it on my list here at number 4. So
great choice.
Yep.
All right. My number 4, all I can say is it safe?
There it is.
That's from Marathon Man, John Schlesinger. It certainly wasn't safe for Dustin Hoffman in the movie. It's kind of like, I like these type of movies, and it was a little bit like 3 Days of the Condor, which we discussed the year before, and then Who Can You Trust? Of course, it has one of the most memorable torture scenes. And they actually, I think, had to cut some out because it was a little too intense for audiences. You mentioned some of the great actors in there. Also had Mark Keller with her first English language film.
She's good in it. Yeah.
She had to do some of the lines phonetically because she wasn't really great at English yet. But Conrad Hall did the cinematography, which was really great. And it's like I said, it's the ultimate who can you trust thriller. And it's my number 4.
It doesn't surprise me. For a guy who doesn't believe in conspiracies at all, Randy loves movies about conspiracies. So it doesn't surprise me. Good choice. All right, we're at number 3, Rich. Doc, sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
Doc.
That's okay. Yeah, it's very safe, Rich. It's very safe. No, it's not safe at all, Rich. No, it's safe. Not safe. So, my number 3. Man, what can I tell you? I love this movie, so I'm sticking in with it. So I got All the President's Men at number 3, man, for me. I got the political thriller journalist of Woodward and Bernstein here at the Washington Post, breaking the story of Watergate with Redford and Hoffman. Hoffman's having a good year in my eyes. So, with a fantastic supporting cast: Hal Holbrook, Jason Robards, Jack Warden.
Yes,
I love all those guys anyway, especially Warden and Robards. But just a great story of uncovering and breaking the story of Watergate, and Woodward and Bernstein did it. I think Redford and Dustin play these guys back and forth, competitors, friends, however you want to look at it, inside the real elements of what I guess reporting was back in the 70s, because it's different these days, but that's the way it was back then. There was real journalistic efforts on how you got stories and how things broke. And
yep,
you don't see that 50 years later here, but that's the way it was done, and that's the way we got the information growing up, at least. So kudos to them for breaking it. The story, I think, turned into a fantastic movie. It's still one of my favorite political kind of thriller kind of flicks. I can watch this movie at any time. To be honest with you, it was easy on my list. Didn't know where, but it's number 3.
that's a good choice.
Great. My number 3 is Rocky. Really inspirational, rags to riches, the ultimate underdog in the city of Philadelphia. That gets points for me. I love everything about the movie. It's a love story. It's a boxing movie. Sylvester Stallone wrote and starred in it. It's got a great cast. Talia Shire playing his wife, and Burgess Meredith as Mickey the trainer. Carl Weathers as Apollo Creed. Burt Young as Paulie. They're all fantastic, perfectly cast, working class people, doing the unthinkable, taking on the champion of the world and coming damn close. I love the training sequences with the art museum steps. Of course, they're well known. Drinking the raw eggs in the morning, pounding the sides of beef. There's a lot of good stuff in there that if you don't have access to maybe the best trainers, you have to do this on your own and, get the best out of your ability. It was the highest grossing movie in 1976, beautifully written. The characters are all believable and the actors do a great job. It's an inspirational movie, like I said. And I remember seeing this in the movie theater. People were literally getting up and cheering and screaming at the screen watching this. They'd never seen anything that drew them in like this before. So it's going to be, I guess, higher on your guys' list. And I understand that, but I like the 2 movies ahead of it a little bit better. Number 3 for me is Rocky.
Well, I agree with you, Rich, because I also have Rocky here at number 3. I have 2 other movies that are higher, and nothing against Rocky. It's a really tight race in the top 3 spots. And I think, like you said, it's as much a love story as it is a boxing drama or a sports drama in any way. And you've touched upon a lot of the other things. I want to mention also that there's very few soundtracks that I genuinely like, but Bill Conti's soundtrack to this movie, Going to Fly Now, and then there's Going the Distance. I just absolutely love, and I know that the movie went on to win 3 Academy Awards, including Best Picture that year, despite some of the movies that he was up against. So that speaks volumes to how good this movie is when it beat out a lot of these other movies. Yeah. But yeah, the boxing scenes are great. You just feel like, you almost feel the punches getting hit, and they seem a little exaggerated at times too. But I think, that just kind of adds to the, adds to the flavor a little bit of the movie. And I like the movie. So I put it here at number 3.
Great.
Yeah. Is it me? Okay.
Yep.
All right. So I've got at 3. I've got Sidney Lumet's Network, great satirical indictment of network television. With Peter Finch losing his mind, and you got the ruthless television obsessed executive and Faye Dunaway, who's so interested in talking about the television business that she even does it during sex.
That's awesome.
It's William Holden's great as he sees this new direction and it's really not for him and he gets fired. But it's where they see news as entertainment. You see reality TV coming. Patty Chayefsky, who scripted it, seems to have been quite the soothsayer or looking in a crystal ball of what network television was going to become.
Yep.
And in the end, it shows you that you can get canceled for having low ratings, and I mean really canceled.
Truly
canceled. That's a nice way to put it.
Truly canceled. All right. So, man, we're in the top 2 already, guys.
There we go.
Pretty good. What do you think, Doc?
My number 2 is probably everyone else's number 1. It's just the way life goes. But I got Taxi Driver here at number 2. So, what can you say about this movie, man? It's De Niro. Debatable on maybe his best acting performance. Maybe we're still early in his career in a lot of senses, but he's been doing acting right up to this day. But this still stands out as something that he's a loner. He's a vet. He's a lost guy in the city. This is we've touched on this before. How it really shows what this really gives you the city feel, man. This feels like a New York movie, and it. Very young Jodie Foster and Sybil Shepherd, but he's trying to latch on to a lot of different things, Harvey Keitel and stuff like this. He's just trying to latch on to something that's going to be his and make his life whatever it is. And he gets skewed in a lot of different ways, and maybe goes off a little of the deep end. You can see him slowly turning into something different as it moves along, and when it does, he goes full throttle. It's the 180 that really happens. So, Taxi Driver, it's a Scorsese flick here. We all, I think, have a lot of respect for his movies in a lot of ways. So this is up pretty high on the Scorsese list as well. So Taxi Driver's right there, man. I just got something I like a little better myself.
Very good.
Rich, what do you have to say about that?
I understand. My number 2 is All the President's Men.
Right.
In any other year, it may be number 1, but Redford and Hoffman playing Woodward and Bernstein are perfect. Directed by Alan J. Pakula, underrated director in my eyes. And like Doc said, this is true investigative journalism, the way it has to be done. No taking sides. Everything you see today is, slanted. And these guys are just looking for the truth. Washington Post reporters meticulously piecing together through phone calls and notes and all their own investigative stuff, like a jigsaw puzzle. And eventually it leads to corruption. It goes right to the top in the White House and the president. And we all know the story, the Watergate story, another chapter in American people losing their trust for the government from the JFK assassination and the Warren Commission, which people don't believe, and the end of the Vietnam War just goes on and on and on. Kent State shootings, and this was just the icing on the cake, where people just said, "That's it. What do we have working for us here?" Jason Robards is Ben Bradley, the editor-in-chief, I guess, of the paper. Excellent Oscar winner, and of course Jack Warden and Hal Holbrook and Martin Balsam. The cast is phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. And the setting of the newsroom is cool. The way they're interacting and getting tips and phone calls, and just these backdoor meetings, and it's fantastic. It's riveting stuff. Even though you know the outcome, you still are hooked on this movie. You wonder, how they get from point A to point Z. In this case, it's all this stuff in between. It's fantastic movie making and a great script. Number 2, All the President's Men.
Excellent.
Very good.
My number 2 is, everybody's already mentioned it, so I won't, go into huge detail. Obviously, I had 2 paragraphs, no sense in it now. I have Network here at number 2. I liked it. I liked it that much. I mean, Sidney Lumet, and you already touched on the story about how they basically, some found out that, sensationalism and maybe even, a narrative of high suspense and drama was better for ratings than actually just reporting the news. And, I'll go into it. Faye Dunaway's character is just absolutely brilliant. It's great. And it's kind of a shame that Finch passed away before he actually got his Academy Award, because he did a really good job in that as well. And everybody knows the quote, "I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore." It's just it's a great movie. It's one of those ones that I'll watch, even if I come in the middle, I'll pick it up wherever I'm at and I'll watch it all the way to the end. So have it on my list, number 2.
Greg.
Great. Well, my number 2 has been mentioned. I won't go into it too much more. It's All the President's Men. The amazing thing is that the reporters were 2 inexperienced reporters at the time.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
And but what's really cool about the movie is it almost plays like a thriller, even though it's based on true events. They have these clandestine meetings with Deep Throat in the parking garage. And one thing I really liked is it expertly details how reporters have to work to get information from sources that don't really want to talk, which was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
It's kind of sad to watch, and when you watch it, to see, the death of newspapers. It was on the horizon, and how improbable this really was for them to do that. I don't even think that could be done now, but it's a great peek at what it used to be like in history.
I think what was really good too is it lets you know that back then it's not enough to have your source. You had to hear the source, you had to hear the story, the narrative in stereo before it went to print. Somebody else had to verify the story was true, other than just the person you heard it from. That's how, serious they were about the news. Now I think they would just throw it out there if somebody just said it arbitrarily. They'll say, "Yeah, that's fact. Throw it out there."
Yep.
So
You're right.
all right, we're at number 1. Doc, I have a feeling I know, but
I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do. Yeah, to me, it's the best movie of 1976. Man, I got Rocky here. This is, I don't know. Rich touched on a lot of the points I'd probably touch on as well. And, picking up on what you said too, Brian, there about Conti's score and stuff like this. But this is Stallone's masterpiece. This is. He's had a great career, and he's done some good stuff afterwards and stuff like this. But he's made a career on the back of this movie, man. This script, this character, it's historic. It is a love story built around a sports movie. He's not the swiftest of dudes, the street guy. He's a street guy who's living his life, who falls in love, and everything that happens at that. And you almost feel sad for him. There's a lot of emotions inside this movie that go with a boxing movie. To me, it's still one of the masterpieces of the 70s. It's still one of the best sports movies of all time. And when this came out, it had an emotional attachment to me then, and it still does these days. I think Rocky is fantastic and definitely a top-tier sports movie of all time. It's to me the best movie of 1976, and that's my eyes, man.
Very good choice. I mean, a lot of people are going to agree with you. That's for sure.
Great.
I agree with the Academy this year.
Yeah.
Well, that eventually stops for everybody, Doc. Pretty soon,
Eventually
nobody
this year
believes
they
in
got
the
it right.
Academy anymore.
In my eyes, they got it right this year.
Rich, what do you think?
Yeah, my number 1 is Taxi Driver. I couldn't get around it. Even though the subject matter is tough, it's still the best made film in my eyes. Martin Scorsese, as Doc mentioned. De Niro is Travis Bickle. What a character here. This is a dark, deranged, disturbing character study. He's disillusioned about the world, I guess. He doesn't see a lot he likes. He's a loner. He's not able to connect with other human beings, really. He's interested a little bit in the political thing going on. He has the guy that's running for, I guess, is it senator in the back seat of his taxi, and then he goes he's going to the headquarters, the political headquarters, and Sybil Shepherd's there, who's this striking, beautiful woman, and he takes her to a porn movie and screws that up. So he's just he can't really
separate it.
He can. He's conflicted on what's right, what's wrong, and how to do the right thing, and it's just unbelievable. And then he's a time bomb waiting to explode. You see him watching on the TV and kids dancing, and he doesn't have anything like that in his life, and he just knocks the television over or pulls a gun. He's talking to a mirror. He's talking to me. He's going to a convenience store and whacking people that are holding it up, vigilante style. It's an ultra-violent movie, especially the last 20 minutes or so. Can't neglect Jodie Foster's performance here as the little 12-year-old, 13-year-old hooker. She's mesmerizing in an early role. I don't know how they got her to do some of the scenes, some of the language, and some of the things she's supposed to do, the way she dresses. Albert Brooks is underrated here as Sybil Shepherd's sidekick in the political realm. Harvey Keitel is the pimp. Peter Boyle is another taxi guy that befriends Travis here. I got to mention the Bernard Herrmann score, who was Hitchcock's famous soundtrack guy, and here he delivers again. It's very memorable. I love the way it's shot too on the wet streets in New York with the windshield wipers. It's like a metaphor for cleaning up the mess here in the city. And Travis is going to take matters into his own hands. And like I said, he's just a time bomb. Back then, it was kind of different to see somebody internalize and exploding like that. Now you see it all the time with the school shootings and the mall shootings, and it's become a world or a country of guns and mental illness not treated, and it's getting old real quick. But Taxi Driver is a look into that world, and it's just a masterpiece for me. Number one.
That's a great choice because it's also my number one. So, and I mean, I'm glad you covered a lot of stuff already. I mean, especially I'm glad that you covered Bernard Herrmann's score, because I thought that's another instance where it's very few times that I really like the movie soundtrack, and not soundtrack necessarily, score to a film, and I listen to it. And that's another one where it just fits the mood, the cinematography of the film altogether. And you talked about that stark contrast of cinema, of cinematography versus some of the other stuff. I mean, it's kind of a visceral exploitation of urban alienation, I think, was one of the things one of the critics said about it. It kind of captures that whole realism of 1970s New York. And I love the fact that you brought up him taking Sybil Shepherd's character to a porn movie. I mean, that's someone who's clearly disassociated with what is considered a societal norm at all. And Jodie Foster, like you said, how they got her to do some of the stuff in this is weird. I mean, she had already taken a role that was kind of questionable with, the little girl lived down the lane, I think was around the same time as well. That had some suggestive things in it as well. But it's a great movie. It definitely deserves to be number one. I think it was number one on my Scorsese top 10 list as well. So had to put it here. Sorry, Doc. Sorry.
That's
Sorry
okay.
What do you think, Randy?
Yeah, that's my number one as well. Robert De Niro playing the ultimate outsider, a person that can't fully communicate or relate to anyone. And I think that leads to his frustration. And he views the city as a sewer. And Scorsese takes us to the underside of the city with prostitutes and porno and drugs, often in Travis Bickle's cab. And it seems like the streets are always wet. It's at night. And the final violent scene has these unexpected results, but you almost feel a little grimy after you leave the theater on that one.
Yeah.
That's a classic, though.
Absolutely. Awesome. So, hey, almost a consensus. I think we only used 7 total movies were mentioned. That's not that many, and but three matches. I mean, but there was 3 movies that all of us had on our list: Rocky, Taxi, and Network, in various spots. My 2 obviously out were already, All the President's Men and Marathon Man. Marathon Man was number 6 for me, and Carrie just beat it out. So,
Me and Rich had the same movies.
We did.
Yeah. You did.
5.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, I have to admit that I did not have Rocky on there.
No, I know that. Well, 3 of you are
okay. Wow, that's true.
But it was my number 6, and it's actually I had my 5 movies picked out, and I go, oh, shoot, I don't have Rocky on here, and I don't know, I just didn't take one off. But you know, it is a classic, the ultimate, where the guy doesn't win. Well, I don't know if I'm giving something away.
No, I think we're past that stage now, Randy. Go for it.
If somebody hasn't seen Rocky, I'm not sure we can help them at this point.
48 years later, too bad.
But I loved it. I saw it at the theater. Maybe all the extra other Rockies kind of made me not put it on the list. I don't know, but I do love the movie. But I had like Logan's Run was a sci-fi one I always wanted to put on.
It's a good movie.
That's a good movie.
Obsession, which is another Hitchcockian one for De Palma. De Palma had 2 pretty good movies this year.
Yep.
Shoot Us, great John Wayne performance. And The Omen was a pretty good horror movie.
It sure was.
Yeah, it sure was. Yep.
Yeah, I have a lot of the same ones Randy mentioned. My 2 runners up, though, were Carrie and The Outlaw Josie Wales, which were both covered. But I just, The Front is a Woody Allen acting performance. I think he's very good in it. Wanted to mention that. Bound for Glory, about the Woody Guthrie biography pick. And I also like The Small Change, which is a foreign movie directed by Francois Truffaut that's kind of underrated. If you get a chance to watch that, Small Change, it's about children, and it's excellent. So just missed my list.
Doc, what about you? What'd you have?
Outside the ones, The Outlaw Josie Wales I had missing, and Carrie just missed for me before, but The Omen was really high on my list as well.
Right.
I love that movie. Bad News Bears came out this year, and that's just a personal touch for me as well that I like. Another Harry Callahan. I think it's a really good, probably the second best of his 70s of the sequel, playing Callahan. The Enforcer comes out this year. I like that movie. And there's a lot of car racing, man. Cannonball Run, Gumball Rally, they're all at the same time. They're fun movies.
Right.
I like Silver Streak, too. It doesn't get a lot of props these days, but Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor are excellent in that movie. And Joe Clayburgh, too.
And even a little Bugsy Malone there, with
Bugsy Malone, The Star is Born, I think the 3rd version by now. Right. That's in there with Streisand and Christopherson.
And King Kong came out.
King Kong.
Right.
Yeah, there's a lot of pretty solid flicks. Next tier, though.
That's right.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's what it is, yeah. As much as I have a crush on Jessica Lange at this time, but yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, that does it for 1976. Please like, sub, and comment down below. Thanks, everyone, for joining us for our video. We really enjoy doing these. So thank you, Rich, for joining me. Doc, thank you. Thank you. Even though you had the wrong number 1, thank you, Doc. And thank you, Randy. Appreciate it. So that's all we have for you for now, and we'll see you guys next week. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.